Hello, and welcome to the world of wings, worms, and more. I'm Kelly, your host. For today's 3 at 3, we're going to be looking at shade plants. Shade in your garden can be very frustrating, and but can be fun too. So we can't let a little bit of things out of our control. For example, my backyard is shaped like an L, and the bottom part of the L is very shady. My neighbors have big live oak trees and big trees that shade the entire back portion of my yard. So we had to get a little creative. We're not going to let something we totally can't control keep us from gardening. And there's a lot of plants that we can also use that want the shade. So we are welcome to all the people joining. We're looking at shade plants today and not letting a little shade get us down. I'm on latitude 30, so depending on where you live, shade means different things. Here, we're in the subtropics, so a little shade in the afternoon is pretty nice. It's pretty hot today. But in the winter time, shade in areas, if you're in a colder climate, can cause you to have a different climate zone and really change what you're growing. So today we're going to look at a few things that I think most people can grow at some point in the year. So, top 3 shade-loving plants. Let's switch this around. Okay, here in front you see 4 o'clocks, and I'm going to turn very slowly, try not to make everyone sick, to my area here. 4 o'clocks. These are flowers grown from seed, and here you can see on the left pink 4 o'clock flowers. Is anyone growing 4 o'clocks themselves? This is one of my favorite shade plants because people are always asking me, I want flowers in the shade, what can I do? 4 o'clocks you can do. It's not 4 o'clock yet here Eastern time in Florida, so they're not open, but you can see that pink bud. And in the afternoon at about 4 o'clock on, those flowers open up and they smell gorgeous. So if you are interested in planting 4 o'clock seeds, I cannot even tell you how easy it is. These literally, if I sort of slowly pan around, this section here I'm showing you in my yard is called the jungle section. That's what we've named it. You're not a plant killer, glitter meets glue. 4 o'clocks you can't kill, I promise. That's so funny. Succulents are tough. Succulents are harder than 4 o'clocks, I promise. That's so funny. You're not, I promise. You just need to be set up for success, and that's what we're doing today. So this is my jungle section, and I really am pro wild section of the yard. My compost pile is hidden back there. You do have to water them, glitter meets glue. Well, kind of. I never water these. Here's my compost pile. You can see this is kind of where plants go. If they can't hack it on their own, they get chucked back here. And if they can survive, they survive. And if they can't, they can't. So glitter meets glue, maybe you need a jungle section where plants have to survive on their own. But so we collected, let me see if I can zoom in here for you. Okay. So here, where am I? Where's my hand? These cameras are hard. Okay, here is a 4 o'clock bloom and a 4 o'clock seed. And these seeds are super easy. They just pop right out and then you throw them. And they will sprout. All of these 4 o'clocks surrounding my entire jungle section, we just heisted off other people's plants around the neighborhood. Now you can buy 4 o'clock seeds at your garden center, and they come in lots of colors. No, it's a 4 o'clock Marco Fitness 6, 4 o'clock flowers. But you can buy these seeds, and they come in many colors, but I've found that the hot pink seems to take over any other colors you might try to grow. But it's very tough. It's very hardy. They grow in the hot months, so you'll want to plant these 4 o'clock seeds after all chance of frost has passed. And then just sort of let them do their thing. Keep them in the shade. They can get some dappled sun, but really full sun is going to be too much for them. But this section And I'm going to pan out a little bit for you so you can sort of see. This section of the yard, it gets a little bit of that dappled light, but that is it. It gets no full sun. So 4 o'clocks are a wonderful, wonderful thing to plant for summertime, shade, color, and almost euphoric scent in the afternoon. So my second of my top 3 shade plants is right here. Fern, sword fern. This is something some people maybe even consider invasive. It will grow in the cracks of walls, in between your sidewalk, in the gutters of your house. It will grow out the armpits of palm trees and on oak trees. This stuff will grow anywhere. And we got some of this from a friend and literally threw it back in here in our jungle section. And there is tons of it. It survives the winter here. If it's in the gutters, you can't kill it. Glitter meets glue. You can't reach it. It has to grow on its own. So this is sword fern, but many, many, many types of ferns. You can look up for your specific location what ferns will be most successful for your area and which ferns will go dormant and come back in the winter. But ferns are awesome foliage for the shade garden. And I especially like ferns, these ferns even, because you can snip the leaves and use them in flower arrangements as filler for flower arrangements in the house. Now the 4 o'clock flowers that we discussed a minute ago, they don't hold up so well in cut arrangements. They're more of an on-the-bush outside flower. But the ferns, they do really well. They'll last a really, really long time in arrangements in the house. So sticking with shade-loving plants, welcome to the world of Wings, Worms, and Wonder, everyone who has joined. We're looking at shade-loving plants, so as a quick recap, we've got 4 o'clocks right here, and their pink blooms would open up soon when it's 4 o'clock. And we've looked at sword fern. So if anyone has any questions on those so far, feel free to pop in. This is my jungle section, and next we're going to go to a plant. I'm going to go through the jungle over here that is a little more cold sensitive, but you can grow it in pots. So those of you that have shaded areas and shaded yards, definitely don't be afraid of container gardening with some of the tropicals that can handle some deeper shade and still give you blooms. So this right here, kind of falling over, we had a giant, giant thunderstorm the past 2 days. So this here, beautiful shiny green leaves. This is butterfly ginger, and it smells absolutely gorgeous, and it flowers in the late summer, fall, when we start to get more rain, and it just grows here in full shade. I started with 1 plant, and now I've got about 10. It spreads under the ground. And this one would also do great in a container for you if you live in colder areas. So 4 o'clocks, ferns, and gingers of any sort. Gingers will really, if they're in the sun, gingers are going to get burned up. I often see on these landscaping shows, they come to Florida and they'll put different gingers in the landscaping because they look so fantastic, but these landscapers aren't from this area and they don't realize that the sun is going to burn up gingers. So gingers are one of my favorite shade plants, and they even come in variegated foliage. So that's when it's like yellow and green striped, and that'll add a lot of interest to your shade garden. It's nice to get those different colors. So for our top shade plants, 4 o'clocks, ferns, and gingers, but those are the first place winners. I have a couple second place winners for you. But first, is anyone growing ginger themselves? No? It's worth a try if you can get some. Even go to the grocery store and plant an actual ginger root in a flower pot. It's really great. So fun to grow. Okay, so moving on to second place winners. This is a really neat one right here. See this giant leaf? See if I can reach it. This giant leaf here and this white flower, that's called root beer leaf. And again, it spreads really easier. It smells so good, Lopez 100. I agree. And it's even edible. Of course, if you have food allergies or anything like that, you're going to want to check to make sure you don't have, any problems with that. But for the average non-allergic person, you can even make like collard wraps with the root beer leaf, and it makes those pretty little white stick flowers that are so adding like a little bit of bright cheer to the garden. I started off with one small root beer leaf, and now this whole section you can see is filling in so nicely. Now this will die back in the winter in my area, so at latitude 30, or I'm zone 9A, sometimes B in a microclimate, if you're in the U.S. for climate hardiness zones. So north of here, you're probably going to want to grow this in a pot, but that's no problem. Just grow it in a pot, pull it in the winter, it'll die back, and it'll come back when the weather gets hot. So second place winner, root beer plant, and let's cut through here and go up to bananas. Bananas are another second place winner. They do great in the shade garden. They will not fruit. So our fruiting bananas are in the sun, but are just fill in and hide this big 2-story house behind us type plant. Lopez 100, I do get weeds in my jungle, and I just ignore them. I just let the natural leaves falling and humus and compost and whatever just deal with it, honestly. Like if a weed tree starts growing kind of big, I will cut that, of course. But as far as regular weeds, I can zoom in and show you. I ignore them back there. But, it being such a shady area, that does help a lot with weeds not growing. But bananas can also be grown in pots for those of you in colder climates. And these will die back some in the winter, but they always come back big and luxurious. And they just look so fun and beautiful, like you're on vacation all the time. So bananas are a second place winner. And here is my special third second place winner, and this is called a staghorn fern, and they sell these at garden centers for quite expensive and much smaller than this. I'll show you a cutting I made of this one. And these also are very cold sensitive. My second place winners are second place because they are so cold sensitive. This I have to move in the winter time, but does wonderfully in shade, and it's a real specimen piece. Or specimen plant. Has anyone experimented with staghorn ferns? They will actually eat the piece of wood you originally tack them to, and they look great hanging from trees, hanging from oak trees. You can, let me duck through the jungle here. Sorry guys. See behind my shed. It looks all messy. Here we've taken a cutting, and we're growing a cutting on sphagnum moss and a piece of wood. And that will eventually they're slow growers, and that will take over that piece of wood. And this is about usually the size you'll see them growing in nurseries and garden centers. And these are great. Let's go back over to the big one. Staghorn ferns are really great for also sun porches and patios. As are bananas in a pot or gingers in a pot. These would be great on a shady, screened-in porch that you have, or in a screened, those of you down here in Florida that have the screened pool enclosures, those will all, ferns, bananas, gingers, staghorn ferns, and especially shady spot, they'll do great in your screen enclosures. So let me go down to the weed situation here. Here we have avocado growing in the shade, and see, there's not too many weeds down there because there's a few little oak tree weeds. I could go in and pull those, but I'm probably too lazy to do that because it is the jungle section. Things here have to fend for themselves. And you can see here coming around, these 4 o'clocks make a nice border to the potting section. I'm going to come just around so you can get another angled view of the bananas growing with the staghorn. See how nice that looks? I mean, I think it does. It looks wild for sure, but fun. Try tropical and super shady, you can tell. On to me. All right. So does anybody have any questions about anything else they would like to, or that they've seen, or that they would like to grow in shade? I could help you decide if it will work for your area or not. I collected a grasshopper on my arm doing that. Jungle section has lots of wild in it. So recap, 3 plants for shade. My top winners for summer are 4 o'clocks, ferns, and gingers in a pot if you need to. And then my second place winners are root beer leaf, staghorn, fern, and bananas. And those could, staghorn fern is a hanging plant, but root beer leaf and bananas could also be done in the containers for you in pool enclosures, screened-in porches, or just straight shady areas. If you have shade, grass is tough, or some sort of ground cover, so you can do a pine mulch. That's really nice, and that will also deter weeds in your shade. Or some kind of mulch saves you on mowing, saves you a little bit of effort. And let yourself have a jungle section, like if you like the looks of that. Let a little wild space. Let your shady plants just go wild, especially your 4 o'clocks and your ferns. If you plant a couple, you will have a bunch within a couple of years. And I hope that you will embrace your shade. Very, so often people come, I work at a nursery on Sundays, and people come and they ask me, what do I do about shade? And they're so frustrated because they have had a lot of failures, but it's just that no one has set them up for success. So if you have any questions on shade gardening, always feel free to email me. Let me switch. I'll show you my email. Okay. You can join the fun with me at wingswormsandwonder.com. You can find me at Wings, Worms, and Wonder on Pinterest and Twitter and Etsy. And I have a blog with lots of free resources and information on gardening, gardening with children, and connecting with nature through art and gardening. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back here next Thursday at 3 o'clock for more tips. It will be a surprise. If you have any questions, email me. If you liked this video, give some hearts, I guess. And I look forward to helping inspire you with Wings, Worms, and Wonder.